I do work in part of my research project, so I'll give you a shout. You can go check them out. I do work with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers in Immokalee, Florida. Immokalee, it's the epicenter of tomato growers in this country. If you want to go check out the website, Coalition of Immokalee Workers, it's ciw.online.org, but just type it in. And just to give you a sense, and what they're fighting for is 1 penny more a pound for every tomatoes grown. In fact, the reality is, it became the centerpiece for a book by Barry Esther called Tomato Land. And the reality is, when you eat a tomato today, the chances of it being picked by a slave are pretty high. It's the conditions in Immokalee, Florida. Some of you are from Florida, so you know. But Immokalee, it is right next to like the second richest part of the United States, a place called Naples, Florida. Hello? Yeah. But to check them out, because they're doing, and Greg Asbet and Gerardo Reyes, who've come up to Georgetown, some programs I've worked on, are really trying to change the world. And when I asked Gerardo, why is he doing? Because if you want to be a union organizer, it's not for the money. Okay, trust me. And by the way, Greg, who spent time in Haiti, said in Haiti we call organizers animators. Animator. Wow, that's an interesting. You want to bring things to life. You're animators, sort of that French thing. But check them out because I think they bring into clear focus what Professor Gans was talking about. Professor Shapiro in terms of presentation. Clearly they're involved in negotiations with different, Trader Joe's, food stores, Publix if you're in Florida and other places. They got Burger King and other people to start paying a little bit more. Okay, that's just a shout out. The language of leadership, storytelling that moves people. You've hit on that, but I want to go a little deeper into that this week with Professor Shapiro, obviously Professor Gans. This notion of storytelling, for me when I work with organizations and leaders, I'm primarily now focusing on storytelling. Let me give you a little insight, since I spent a little time reading this stuff. It's called the neuroscience of leadership. The neuroscience of leadership. Meaning they're doing a lot of brain research, which is pretty cool. Gets past the Human Subjects Committee, which is really pretty cool too. But they look at how people are processing information and experiences. What we find from this research is this. The way that you and I remember our life experiences is through the format of a story, like a digital story embedded in the brain. We tend to remember more negative experiences than positive experiences, probably some survival mechanism going on there, okay? But it's through the format of a story. If you understand that that's how I experience, remember our experiences, then you as leaders have to connect to people through the format of a story. Because that's the way people connect. That's how you touch their hearts. Thank you. Bless you. To bring that home, to get us started, I want to go back to one of the great storytellers of the 20th century and the greatest speech of the 20th century. The last 4.5 minutes of a speech given on August 28, 1963 by the 34-year-old co-pastor, Ebenezer Baptist Church, Atlanta, Georgia. Hello. Okay, the old one, not the new one across the street that's big and glitzy and glass and all that. The old one, okay, where if you walk in, as I have done, you hear Dr. King's voice. It's almost eerie like he's there, and I guess he is there. But it's this notion you're there. But I want you to last 4.5 minutes. Now you're all familiar with it, but I want to set it up because there's something that many people don't realize. Turns out Dr. King had to get this speech approved by the organizers. Okay? Because nobody wanted Martin to say anything that would agitate people, get them excited to protest, okay? And so he got it approved. The moment in time that this starts, he departs from the written speech. Everything he's going to say in the last 4.5 minutes here is not written down. Okay, it's not written down. And as we approach the 50th anniversary, you can see more books and articles written on this. Written speech, delivered speech, it's not written down. But I want you to listen to the great storyteller of the greatest speech of the 20th century, Dr. Martin King Jr., I Have a Dream. Thanks, Chris.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
The greatest speech of the 20th century, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the ability to inspire. And often we hold that up, and we should, but I want to unpack many things he did, bring it down to practical stuff that'll take us to an exercise that you can apply when you go back to your respective colleges and universities around this country. Let me begin with the wisdom. Since I'm teaching at a liberal arts university, I got to quote Goethe. And Goethe said this: whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. It's about dreaming and dreaming big. That's boldness. That's what inspires. The Dream Act, bold, imaginative. What makes for a great story? I know you've talked about storytelling and creating stories from Professor Gans through Professor Shapiro. This notion, what makes for a great story? My research suggests that it's really, you have to have a great storyline, and that storyline has to be delivered with great style. So it's about storyline and style. The story that excites people, the storyline, has to answer 4 questions. When you're starting something new, trying to create something on your respective campuses, for example, or in your community, you want to get people to follow, you've got to tell a story. That story has to answer 4 questions. You have to answer the why question. Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? How will it affect me? How will it affect me? That may be the first question for many people. What's in it for me, right? Okay. How will it affect me? What is the roadmap for mission success? What's it look like? Dr. King did that. We're going to go to jail together. We're going to struggle together. We're going to pray together. He's sort of laying it out, what's going to happen. The last piece is, and by the way, some of his best writing was done in a jail in Birmingham, Alabama. Will there be a happy ending? Not that you can guarantee it, but can you tell a story as possible? People digging down deeper, working together can change the world. Those 4 questions lay on top of what Joseph Campbell might argue was the hero's journey storyline. The hero's journey storyline is like a 3-act play. Act 1, you embark on a new adventure filled with great hope. Act 2, you meet setbacks and adversity, some expected, some unexpected. Act 3, you regroup, you refocus, you conquer. Now, if my 16-year-old son would be sitting in the back, which is where he'd be sitting in the back, as Apple Forest playing Angry Birds. Okay. Yeah, my son talks to Suri. Suri, what do you think of Microsoft? Cannot answer. Cannot answer. It's an Apple Microsoft joke. So, not that funny, obviously. But this notion, he would wake up and he said, "But Dad, didn't you just describe the storyline of episode 4, 5, and 6 in Star Wars trilogy?" I did! By the way, generational difference. He always refers to them as episode numbers. No. Brian, yeah, episode 4. When it came out in 1977, I was there, Seattle Cinerama Theater. Behind Air Force pilots. And I was talking, why you come see? It was our 3rd time. 3rd time, why? Because their cockpits and their jets are much cooler than ours. So they didn't want to come back to see what the cutting edge 21st century stuff looked like. But episode 4, which is called Star Wars, did have a title. Do you know what the title of episode 4 was?
New Hope.
Very good. Who said that first? I heard it over here. Yvette, phone a friend on trivia. You know, A New Hope. Absolutely right. And then episode 5 was entitled The Empire Strikes Back. George Lucas understood that. That made the title of the movie, the title of the episode. Episode 6 was called The Return of the Jedi. So he understood that, and he connected to that. So much of the Star Wars hero's journey is the Joseph Campbell mythology and the life. If you look at any of J.K.'s books, is that not the Harry Potter story arc? Mm-hmm. Harry's born, mom and dad suffered, died for him, protected him, Voldemort's gone, middle years, Voldemort returns. I won't tell you how it ends because you got to watch it or read it. But is that not the storyline for Harry Potter? Mm-hmm. It's the hero's. You have to be able to tell a story that you want to engage people to follow. Now let me give you an insight from my research. Give you one of these. Give you one of the an insight and a fact. Insight. My research suggests that people do not commit their hearts and souls to plans and projects. They'll do them. They'll comply. They'll execute. What they commit their hearts and souls to is causes and missions. Causes and missions. Your challenge and task is to articulate, communicate what it is you're doing as part of a larger cause or mission. I mean, I'm at Georgetown University, LMU people get this. It's about mission. I do work with the Peace Corps. It's about mission. NASA's about mission. If you're in the military, it's about mission. People want to be part of something bigger. Now a factoid. In this country, anybody ride motorcycles? I don't ride motorcycles. Anybody? Anna Maria, what kind of motorcycle do you ride? Scooter. That's okay. I like that. Okay. In this country, this is a true fact. This is. I have a PhD. I find these little facts. I'll share them. In this country, over 3 million people have a Harley Davidson tattoo somewhere in their body. Wow. That's commitment. Now, how many people have a City University of New York tattoo on their body? I'm just kidding. How many have a Harvard tattoo? No. But the point is, they're committed to it. They believe in Harleys. It's a sense of how's the cause and mission. That's what we want to tap into. That is the message of Professor Gant. So what's the cause and the mission? That's what you want to tap people into. But that mission has to be delivered with an engaging delivery style. You cannot be reading it like it's third quarter financials. Okay, although I was working with a financial services company, vice president of finance, presented third quarter financials, you had people jumping out of their seats. Why? Because behind every uptick in a number, there was a story. Savvy leaders speak in stories. I'll suggest to you in a bit, savvy leaders speak in values, and savvy leaders speak in examples. That's what you're doing. Savvy leaders speak in stories, examples, and values. What you say and how you say it. Here's the 3 pieces to unpack. It's about your persona, how you describe your vision and ideas, your use of communication techniques. Your persona, everybody has a persona. It's a public persona. It's the face you present to the world. When you walk in the room, it's a public face. There are some personas that are more inspiring than others. The language you use to describe your vision or your cause or mission, there's some that are just more exciting than others, just the choice of words. Then there are certain communication techniques. If you use them and practice them, you'll be much more memorable and motivating. I want to unpack each of those with some concrete and then take us to our exercise. Persona. It's about being positive and optimistic. We are inspired by people who are positive and optimistic. When you're around people like, if I say leaders or signal senders, hello. If you're positive and optimistic, upbeat, passionate, enthusiastic, we like being around people like that. Who wants to work for somebody who's negative and pessimistic? I'm not saying you don't work for somebody like that, but who wants to? Nobody wants to work for an Igor going, oh God, another dark day, oh God, California really is, it's just not Stockton, it's just the rest. Oh, come on. No, we want our people who are upbeat, positive, and optimistic. That is what inspires. Let me tell you a story about John, one of my good friends. I get now and then have people who invite me in as they're sort of doing one of these motivational speeches, and John's a friend I've known for a long time. So he invited me into his company somewhere on the East Coast here. And he invited me in, and he was up there in front of his group. And he was giving one of those motivational speeches to rally the troops to go out there and conquer the world with a new set of financial products. And they're running out the room to conquer the world. And after they're done, I go up to John with my Stanford PhD, my core competency is asking simple, dumb questions. Less than 2 syllables is my goal, okay? In any word. So I go up to John, I said, John, what makes you so positive? Optimistic about the chances your team success. I just never seen somebody over the top so positive. He looked at me and says, Bob, it's in my blood. Oh God, people say, it's in my blood, it's calm, it's in the air. I said, John, what do you mean it's in your blood? He said, my blood type is B positive. Demonstrated action bias. Meaning we are inspired by people who take action. We're inspired by that. So if you're trying to get resources, if you're trying to change the world, we get inspired by people who are just not sitting on the sideline complaining. They're out there trying to do something. So if you have an action bias, that inspires. That's a persona that inspires. You want to be a solution finder. Okay? You bring solutions, that's an action bias. That inspires people. But it's not just enough to have the right persona, well, that's important. It's about your vision and ideas. How to convey that vision and ideas. Now we'll take us to our next movie clip. One of the things that brings people together is a real sense of urgency. The sense of urgency. Okay? If people believe it's urgent, maybe it's an SB 1070 issue, and even after SB 1070 has been adjudicated, there's still a sense of urgency, okay, around this issue. That rallies people together. I'm just focusing on that particular issue, since I'm a little more familiar with it. That stuff, that gets people together. If people believe it's really urgent, not a Dilbert sense where everything's urgent. No, it's really urgent. If they're going to cut back literally resources, then you got to get people together to think more creatively how to get things done. That brings people together. Look to the future. What inspires people is you look to the future. Okay? That's what's the future vision? What's the possibility? Use language about the future. That's what a powerful story. It's about providing a grand purpose. That may be at the core of the language of leadership. How do you communicate to people that what you do or doing is part of something bigger than self? Let me give you some examples. When Steve Jobs started Next, and as you know, Next ultimately saved Apple, but when he hired the engineers at Next, what he said is, come to work at Next. He didn't pitch the deal by saying stock options. He said, come to work at Next, and you will be able to change the way people learn. It'll be a revolution of learning. Wow, a revolution, wow. That's not standard engineering. Am I right? Where are my engineers? That's not standard engineering curriculum revolution, unless it's the quantum revolution. But it's not standard core curriculum, right? A revolution, right? Okay. When Robert Shapiro was at Monsanto trying to take it from a chemical-based business to a biotech-based business, he was uneven in success in doing that. But he said, going from chemical to biotech, he brought senior leadership to a large room and said, we are now going to embark on a new strategic direction where we are going to invent products that will save the world. Make a lot of money. Save! Make a lot of money. They cast their efforts into saving the world. Wow. I do work with a the American subsidiary of France's largest global defense company. We used to exec through Georgetown with them. And they make radios for special operations forces, U.S. and allies. I can guarantee you last May, a year ago May, they were actually in Pakistan with the Navy SEALs. Trust me, their radios are that good. And the CEO has a saying that I've seen at production facility walls, and the saying is this: lives depend on our products. So not just making radios, they're saving lives. People ask me what keeps Bob motivated every day. It's not about the money, people, trust me. People that make money in business schools, finance professors. How do I know that? Because they all drive German cars. I had my Toyota Camry, got in 2007. When my daughter started learning how to drive, I wanted an airbag every 5 inches, and it worked for me, so I got my tips, been working for me. But apart from the Starbucks, which gets me started in the morning, I tell people what keeps me motivated. I believe that I'm changing the world one student at a time. That's what keeps me motivated, changing the world one student at a time. People must understand their role, their contribution, their importance. Your challenge and task in the teams and groups you're leading is everybody has to believe that they have a role, that it's an important role. Maybe it's back office, maybe it's small, but that they have a role. Let me bring it down to Bill Gates' 6th grade Microsoft Word vocabulary. People have to believe their actions matter. They have to believe their actions matter. You've got to connect the dots for people. Even if it's just, signing people in for a meeting, that's really important. That's an important role because they're often the face for the meeting until you get to speak. What's their role, their contribution, their importance? Give life to your vision. Tell stories. Personalize and humanize. Use examples people can relate to. Dr. King talked about his 4 little children. You have such rich history within your respective universities, within your community, within your life. You've been telling stories all week. Tap into those stories. Let me tell you about this company that makes radios for special operations forces. As you know anything about the 2 wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, regardless of where you are, and one of the things we support the troops, places like San Antonio and Washington, D.C. and other places around the country are really working with the veterans who come back. The cruel paradox of these 2 wars is this: more people are coming back, which is good, but they're coming back more damaged. Okay? And so they decided at this suburb of Washington, D.C. to do a field trip, invite 4 bus loads of veterans to come up to the Maryland facility. They do a plant tour, have lunch, say thank you. And so the buses rolled up in front of the facilities. The CEO was up there, everybody's CEO, production worker, lined up, ready to say thank you. And the lieutenant who was leading the 4 buses, who was in charge of bringing everybody up, as he got off the bus to go to the CEO began to say thank you, and the lieutenant says, no, thank you. And the CEO says, no, I should be thanking you. And the lieutenant says, respectfully, sir, no, thank you. And the CEO said, why? He said, well, his squad, which is in the northern regions of Iraq, was driving along, IED, explosion. He loses his half of his squad, he loses his leg. And he said, it wasn't for the power of the signal of your radios in this remote region of Iraq, we wouldn't have been able to connect to the Blackhawks who would come get us, take us back to the finest medical care you can get on a military front, to get us back to Germany, to get us back to the States. So now when they say lives depend on our products, they have a story. The question is, what stories do you have? Tap into those. Be a dealer in hope. Napoleon said a leader is a dealer in hope. Be possibility thinkers. Don't be probability thinkers. Don't tell me it's 0.2375 that we can get her done. No, come on. Don't give me technical probabilities. Talk about possibilities. Talk about possibilities. Use action-oriented words. Don't say try. Say will, are. Or, as one executive said to me, don't say if, say when. Don't say if, no. When we accomplish it, hello. When the DREAM Act is finally done, in whatever version. When, not if, when. Okay? Use that language. Then one executive I worked with in the telecom world said this to me. She said, Bob, I have learned, say imagine. Don't say but. When people hear but, they just shut down. But imagine is a word with magical properties. It unlocks endorphins in the body. You say imagine. Although she did parenthetically say, as she was leaving the room, she did say to me that but can be motivational when it's preceded by these 2 words. Kick there.
Yes.
Repeat key phrases. I have a dream. Let freedom ring. Lives depend on our products. Change the pace. Speed up. Slow down. Raise your voice. Lower your voice. You saw Dr. King do that.
move away from the podium now and then. Engage the audience. Or do something that most politicians don't do today, because they're a lot like Darth Vader, speaking and breathing at the same time, which I think is an apt metaphor for almost all of them. This notion about pausing, silence. One of the most effective communication techniques is to pause, to allow a message to sink in. It amplifies, magnifies the sound of the message. We'll build in some pauses. Let me begin with the wisdom of Havel to set up our exercise here. Havel, who just left us this past year, playwright, first president of the Czech Republic, said this: "Vision is not enough, it must be combined with venture. It is not enough to stare up the steps, we must step up the stairs." It's about storytelling that moves people. That's what you want, which will take us to our exercise. What I want us to do, John, remind me, who do you hang out with? Because USC is just a group of one. Do you hang out with somebody from these other groups?
Yeah, LMU.
LMU, for that LA thing going on?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure he's not excluded and alone. Not that he couldn't do this exercise by himself. He does go to University of Southern California, right? Yeah. I know he can. Here's what I want you to go to your respective groups, okay? And each group is going to have this task, and each group's going to have to do this. Drawing on all the elements of the language of leadership: persona, how you describe your vision and your ideas, communication techniques we talked about. Craft a 1-minute inspirational speech to energize and motivate members of your community, university or beyond. Maybe you're about ready to do this as one of your projects. To do the right thing on an issue of great importance. Question. To do the right thing on an issue of great importance. That's what I want you to do. Okay? Each group is responsible for crafting a 1-minute speech, and then picking someone in that group to give that speech. I will tell you when I'm going to give you 20 minutes to break here and do this. Stay somewhere around here so I can track you down. What I found, those say, boys, I gotta go to the restroom, I'll come right back. I find that when they rejoined the group, they were chosen the speaker. This is a very important political lesson I hope you learned this week. That never miss a meeting where your interests are at stake. Okay? So just wait a couple minutes before you lock in, and then you gotta go do. Do you understand what I'm asking you to do? Each group, 1-minute speech, issue of motivating people to do something, do the right thing of great importance at your respective universities and communities. 20 minutes, bless you. When you come back, 8 speeches. And I'm going to reduce the anxiety a little bit. Go, oh God, no, you guys are great. You know you're great. But I'll reduce the anxiety a little bit. The only feedback you can get from people in the room after you give the speech is love. Only love. Only positive feedback. Only positive feedback. Okay? Go get busy. 20 minutes. Come back here, 20 minutes. Okay, people, let's reconvene. Almost everybody's back. There may be one group that's just working their way in. Okay, who'd like to go first? Anybody? Amy? 2, first, second. Only thing I'm going to ask for any of you as you come in, all I want you to do for us is just set the stage, and then the stage is yours. So just set the stage, what it's about, and the stage is yours. Miss Amy?
Okay. Thank you so much. So I'm going to speak on the need for immigration reform in our country. In 1970, my grandmother left Mexico and came here to recreate herself and find a new home. She wasn't accepted because my father was born out of wedlock, and she heard of a place called America, specifically New York, where you can reinvent yourself, find a community to accept you, and secure the opportunities to work in order to support that lifestyle. We've all come here for the same reason. For 300 years, our families have been walking through the gateway that is America, for the same reasons and with the same hopes. And now those doors are closed. We need to pry them open. We do. And you need to join me in my cause to advocate in our schools and in our courtrooms for the legacy that my grandmother and our parents passed on to us. of that one of giving us a better life. So let's honor their hopes and their sacrifices. Join me. Thank you.
Three things you like about what Amy did with the help of her speechwriters. I think she did several things, but give me three things that jumped. I said, oh, wow, she did that? Oh, wow. Give me three things. Talk to me.
She connected her speech to her life, to her life, her story, and I think that really impacts the viewer and the listener.
Absolutely. Personalized, they can see the impact. Is it Josie?
Yes.
Josie, and then Michelle, and then Maria.
The image of the gate and flying it over.
Oh, is that, the image of the gate's powerful. Images and metaphors, and the gate is, it's real, it's closed open. Absolutely right. Michelle?
I loved how she used legacy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just how, you know, you had talked about earlier.
Absolutely
just
right.
giving us that, like, okay, let's leave our mark.
Right, yeah. And as part of that, I like that she talked about honoring, the use of honoring other people. Absolutely, Anne-Marie?
He came from her heart. He
Absolutely.
was inspiring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She used pause, her voice started to build up towards the end. Job well done.
Thank you.
Job well done. Let's start with somebody who's close. Sabrina. Abel, yeah, no, Sabrina's.
The same group.
Oh, you same group? Oh, okay. I didn't.
I was just pointing her way.
Okay. Set the stage. Stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. We are going to talk about the importance of sharing your story. I would not have known I am the daughter of a heron unless my mother had shared her story with me. So imagine, if you will, this is Brazil, some 58 years ago. The culture was that you marry your daughters as early as possible. That means honor for your family. And so with the best of intentions, my grandparents married my mother. Penha is her name. I've been talking about her, haven't given her a name. Penha was married at the age of 13, an arranged marriage. She met her husband to be about a day or two before. She was just a child, and it turned out that my grandparents did not do the good job they thought they had done when they picked her much older husband. By the age of 18, my mother had had 8 miscarriages because her body just was not ready to conceive a child. But then she finally had her children, and throughout her marriage, the most important thing for her was her kids. And she endured violence from her husband. She endured his cheating. He took away her property she inherited from my grandparents. My mother has a whole little dip in her leg that I didn't find out until I was a teenager what it was. But it was from her husband shooting her in the leg. And she endured all of that. But then one day he took it too far, and he tried to take her children away from her. And that's when she said, no, 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 I draw the line here. She took her children away. That's when she went to the sugarcane fields. She is barely literate. She didn't have another choice. That was the work that she found. She counted on her neighbors to take care of her children, and she went and she did what she had to do. And today we are here. I'm here at Harvard with you guys. But unless she had shared that story with me, I would not have known I have that kind of power in my blood. So when you go home, if nothing else, share your stories.
What Sabrina said, with the help of Abel, obviously. Moral support matters. Nico, what'd you like?
The fact that at the end she kind of, although it was simple, she told us how we can do what
Absolutely.
is so important to do by sharing our story. So I thought that was great because it didn't leave me a sense of like, oh, what should I do? No, go home and tell the story.
Yeah, come tell your story. Absolutely right. Kanika.
I think the specifics of the story, like you didn't just say like your mother had this like struggled in Brazil, but you told such a rich story. And when you said, you know, I didn't find out until I was a teen that he shot her, that just grabbed my heart and my full attention as if you didn't have it before.
Part of the issue here to build on that is the way you deliver a story is really important. Words do matter. That's part of the message, obviously. But the delivery, there was drama.
Yes.
Draw the line. I mean, she was acting.
By the way, I view leadership as performance, and you've got to be able to act, but it engaged you the way she delivered it. One more point.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, we've learned through this leadership program that content and delivery are the two most important things in public speaking. You touched upon the delivery, but I also think that the content, like how powerful her story was, in a sense, liberated, I'm sure, me, and I'm sure everyone who listened here to like, be like, wow, if she's strong enough to share that story with us, we should be able to share our story with them.
And she becomes an inspiration for you, handing you along to go tell your stories. Last comment.
So when we were in the small groups, we didn't even take the time to write a speech because we started brainstorming and she came with that personal narrative. And the moral of that story, the reason I was there is because I was going to say this, but I'll just say it now, is that her mother can be seen as a soldier, a champion of the world. She's been shot at, she's been abused, and yet she stood for a purpose, right? And her purpose was her children, but our purposes are all something in this world and in this life, right? And still, her mother had a positive outlook on life, right? Because she had that purpose, like Professor Bies has mentioned. And so it's crucial to the existence of humankind that we share our stories. And sometimes in the desperate attempt to preserve ourselves, to not be embarrassed, to not feel like we're less than someone else, we keep our stories to ourselves. But what's most important is that we realize that every time we stay silent about something that's truly painful, there's a chance that someone else has a similar stab wound. And every time we keep it to ourselves, that's a stab wound that isn't being healed. And so by her mother sharing that with her, she allowed her to be healed.
I agree. Good one. Excellent. Terrific. Good job.
I'm talking to, my audience will be mostly students, young fellows, and we're kind of an auditorium setting. So, fine. How many of you thought about, I'm becoming 18 and I'll be able to get married without my parents' consent, or become economically independent? So how many of you thought about exercising the right to vote? How many of you have thought about, I have that right, but some of my classmates, some of my friends don't have it? Why? Because they are not citizens. Well, think about it. Exercise the right. Elect the candidates that are going to allow them to become citizens, stay here, because they belong here. We have a systematic problem among the Latino community. We don't participate. Yeah, we don't have a perfect system, but without your help, we're not going to be able to improve it. So I invite you to come to a town hall meeting at the Kendall campus on August 13th. Go out and bring your friends so you can get a demonstration of the system and get the tools to participate and let your voice be heard. Thank you.
Getting to see across these 8 speakers, similar but different. What'd you like, Michelle?
I really like the questions at the beginning because she was setting up this whole thing. It's really relatable because when you're turning 18, you think you rule the world, and you start thinking, oh, I'm 18, and oh wow, now I'm legal and this and that. But and then I loved how she said, but how many of you have thought about voting? And then you just saw all the heads nodding right here, like wow. So I loved it.
That was great. I love the ask us the questions there on, and then 2 more down here.
I especially liked how she interacted with the class and her audience, the way she was walking.
Absolutely right.
Like basically everywhere. I don't know. She was walking around and like looking at people straight in the eye and like interacting and telling them that there needs to be a change in the voting system, and I think that way it gets more to the public when you're interacting with them.
That's a good job. It's going to be 2 down. We had 2 down here. I'll just do those 2, and then because I want to move on here. Michael and Yolanda.
I just want to repeat back to what Daron was saying. She owned the stage.
That's right.
You owned it.
Thank
you.
She made them an essential part of the change. Without them, there wasn't going to be any change.
Right.
And she let us know our role.
Right.
Bring friends, bring awareness.
Absolutely.
To make that change.
And you sense, to build on that, you absolutely right, you've got a sense of urgency. Okay? It does matter. It does matter.
Jumble down, Adriana. Jumble down.
First time doing this piece, so okay. I'm happy that we just have positive. All right. I'm going to be talking about, the arts and how important it is. So, my love for Latin music is endless. Before I could stand at 5 months old, I was climbing against the bars of my crib, attempting to dance to classic salsa musicians like Willie Colón and Hector Lavoe, and Celia Cruz and Tito Puente. This music full of power and passion, igniting innovation for me, and I'm sure for many others. I can't imagine a world without music, living without music. In our communities, we struggle with lack of funding and public education, which as a result is a lack of motivation, ambition. We have to change this, otherwise we won't have the explorers that dare to explore, expanding our culture, our history, our sciences, our ability to understand one another. Music is not just for leisure, but inspires. Music inspires children to live a world that may not be readily available, readily seeable, readily livable. To not just hear it, but feel it, move it, love it.
I thought there were several things you did were really, really good. What'd you like? Talk to me on the way.
Confidence.
Oh yeah, the confidence was there. Absolutely great. Adriana.
Passion.
Passion was there. Absolutely, passion was coming through.
The way she related the arts to our ability to explore and innovate.
Absolutely. She was able to connect the dots.
I truly believed her when she said that she's passionate about music, and then she was dancing in her crib at 5. You know,
No, I tried.
I tried. And actually, I will give her credit. She is an unbelievable salsa dancer.
Okay, that's terrific. I thought one last thing, Nico. What do you want to add?
The end. Oh my God! Like, your face was just like, we gotta do this.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say no to her. Right? I like that. She kept on readily. She had this repetition and sense of urgency in her voice, but this repetition of what needs to be done that I really, really liked. Jumble down. Number 5. Where are we? Talk to me. Lupito.
Ooh, speak up.
Hello, everybody. We are going to be discussing the no texting and driving issue. So, OMG, JK, LOL. These are some of the words that you may receive once you're driving to work or driving to school. But these may also be some of the words that people receive and the last words they see before they're in an accident, in a tragic accident, that definitely impacts many families. In our community, not too long ago, a Domino's kid, he was a delivery guy, at 17 years old, was killed by a woman who was texting. This definitely impacted our community in many ways. So it is our responsibility to come forward to our community and make a change. It is literally in the power of your hands to stop this. It takes 1 second for you to make the difference in your family or in others. So what if this happened to your parents? Because nowadays they text also. Or your sister, or your brother, or your friend. So I invite you to make the pledge to keep your hands on the wheel in order to keep your lives and protect others. Save your texts to save your life. Thank you.
Several things. Go ahead. Adriana, Kanika, Bayron, and then we'll go to number 6.
I really like the introduction, the hook. It's like JKL.
Oh, wasn't that great? Yeah, that was great.
That was beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. I love that. Got you hooked in right away. Kanika?
And to that end, I also love the ending of it. Save the text to save your life. You hit it.
The connection there was really, really good. I agree with that.
Trademark.
There's a buck to be made. Okay, absolutely.
I especially liked how she was very articulate in the way she was talking and how she used her body And especially in the part where she goes like the power in your hand, and she was like this.
Absolutely.
It was a
The
symbol
visual
of
was great.
power.
I agree.
Right, yeah.
I agree with that. Rafa, then we'll connect.
There was conviction in her that she fully believed in this.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. It made it easy for you to do. Just don't do it. Okay? Job well done with you. Job well
Okay, and my audience is you guys. Okay. Look to a woman in the room. Look around. Everyone, please, look at the woman. And imagine them not being here because they are at home taking care of a child they had at the age of 14. Merced is a place full of hope and opportunities. Yet, girls are not able to attain them due to the high epidemic of teen pregnancy in our community. This problem is leading to grow within a life that hasn't lived. Yet, these girls should be able to live lives full of success and enriched with education and careers. As a community, we should strive to help these girls reach their potential, and we will help them. We will by providing more sex education, guidance, and support. Thank you.
Speechwriters, Rafa?
I like her attention getter. She started off with and engaging with the audience.
Absolutely right. That is a powerful thing to do to engage the audience and having you look at people. I thought that was a really powerful technique. I agree with that. Pilar?
That she gives a solution. Like she doesn't really like what can they do.
Absolutely right. I agree with that. Give me one other thing, two other things. We'll go here, Tori.
Hi. Yeah, I like the fact that she made it seem like it, a lot of the problems with teen pregnancy and like what happens and why girls stop is because people make it seem like it's the end of the world for them. Like, yeah, that's it, you're done. You have nothing else to do. And they make it seem like a fall instead of a stumble.
Right.
Because when you fall, and it's harder to get back up. And sometimes you can't. But when you stumble, you should be able to continue on. And that's exactly what they need to do. And I like that she brought that
I
up.
agree with that, Tori. I agree with that a lot. Last one, Amaro.
Well,
I apologize, Dan, but
I have something similar to what she said. How people think that when you're pregnant, that's like the hell zone. Then she talked about how there's still hope. That there's the light.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Job well done. Job well done. We got two more left. Where? Oh, here.
Growing up, I always believed that heroes were indestructible. That heroes would always be there for you, no matter what. That was my big brother Justin. I always knew that he wanted to be a cop. And to see that dream come true for him would have been my dream come true. When he graduated high school, he didn't go to college. He became a pothead, and to this day, he works in warehouses throughout the city, and he's the reason why I love sports today. So my hero let me down. Statistics show that the majority of you won't graduate. And I'm sorry, but I'm talking to students.
So good luck, LLI.
Guide them in the right direction. We need to step up. We are the role models of our communities and of our sisters and brothers. I want to see my brother look up to me, and I want my achievements to be his inspiration. Because I look up to my brother like nobody's business. So, role models are the key foundation to our success, and we will rise.
I really like two things. One is the challenge that you presented, saying statistically, you're not gonna graduate. I think I really like that because I'm sure a few students that you're gonna talk to, they're gonna be like, I wanna, you know, conquer that. And also the transparency that, you know, their success is your success and your success is their success because it builds on this idea of community.
Right, I like that. Michelle?
I really liked how he just presented that there's going to be people in our life that we look up to and will let us down, but that doesn't mean that we have to follow that example, you know. Instead, we're going to be the role model.
That was great. I agree with that, Rafa.
I enjoyed his use of figurative language when he said, "My superhero let me down."
Right. Yeah, I like it. I also thought there was something about his voice in the series. I don't know if you said the quiet in the room when he was speaking was just like, wow, just he created this. You just wanted to hear what he had to say because you knew it was going to be serious. But it was just there was silence in the room now that you created that people were just on edge of their seat. What were you going to say next? Which is a really great thing to do. Job well done. Job well done. One movie clip. Number 8. That's right.
$1 million people. That's how many people have been deported under the Obama administration. Thousands and thousands of students, college students just like us, have been deported. People like Ricardo Muniz, a good friend of mine whose deportation I helped stop. Ricardo working as a janitor to support himself through community colleges as well as his sick mother. Ricardo aspires to transfer as a business major to start a company, creating jobs here. I'm not undocumented, I'm a citizen. But growing up in an undocumented immigrant family, I know the contribution, the hard work ethic, and that whatever it takes mentality, honest living that undocumented people bring. Obama's deferred action, a necessary step, which, you know, only shows hope and optimism that soon we will have the DREAM Act and immigration reform, so people like Ricardo Muniz don't get sent back to countries they don't know, but stay in their home, the United States. So Google the California Dream Network or go to californiadreamnetwork.org if you want to support, because really every single contribution counts. No matter how big or how small, everything is a contribution. At the start of this week, Dario told all of us that as we rise up the elevator of success, we must send it back down. And now as we conclude this week, I'll tell you, for some people, that elevator doesn't exist. Thank you.
About what Nestor did with the help of his speechwriters. What did you like? There were several things. Tori?
I liked that he put the sense of urgency at the very end, and it, you know, the whole part was positive too, but he put that sense of urgency that the elevator doesn't exist for some people. Like we need to make that happen. We need to make an elevator for everybody.
Absolutely. I thought it was a great image and a great message. I'll take three people right there, then I get to close it out. Baltazar?
I like how he said that they're getting sent to countries they don't know.
Right.
This is their country.
I agree. That was profound. I love that.
When he mentions that people are being deported on a daily basis, and these are people that are just like us, I think it creates a sense of urgency and importance to this. And then he gives a name to those people. He mentions Ricardo.
Right.
So I think that he gets into a specific and he's
personalizing human. It's not statistics. Although I believe the 1 million number is a statistic that should create a sense of urgency.
Right.
But he humanized it,
Yeah.
which is great.
Well, you mentioned you're not, I mean, you are a citizen. So like that, it's like, it's not directly my problem, but I'm still helping.
Absolutely right.
I like that targets
I
a
agree.
larger audience.
I agree. One last thing, sir.
That goes back to honesty and being able to feel like you trust your speaker and their message.
Absolutely right. That was terrific. Esther, terrific. Job. One more movie clip in, and I want to make sure that Professor Zalecki's not going to be too upset, but I want to get the one more movie clip in. You might say, if you listen to all the speeches, those are great speeches. Okay? If all that you do going forward is speak with more passion and optimism, use more examples, and pause more. If that's all that you do, you'll be much more motivational. But you just saw 8 individuals with the help of their speechwriters do more than that. Piece of wisdom here, the bookend with Hobble. Vision without action is a daydream, the proverb goes. Action without vision is a nightmare. Let me give you the final sage wisdom. Will take us to the final movie clip that'll really, I think, put a bow tie around what I've been trying to say today. The first piece of sage wisdom, President John F. Kennedy. And you should see this on your brochures and stuff. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. The issue for me isn't do we make mistakes. The issue is do we learn from them? Okay? Those two are connected, not just in this program, but as you go forward after you graduate, are you continuing to learn, to update what you know about the world? Dorothy Day, the greatest challenge of the day is how to bring about a revolution of the heart. You listen to all those speeches, what you were doing is calling for the revolution of the heart. You want to do that California Dream Network, you're trying to get to a revolution of the heart. The deal is get people to care. Because I'll give you a bonus quotation from Lao Tzu. From caring comes courage. Your challenge is how do you get people to care? When you humanize it with a name, then you begin to care. Robert F. Kennedy gave his speech in 1966 in South Africa. Very famous speech. It's actually on his tombstone in Arlington. It is from the numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lots of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. In crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Whether it be apartheid in South Africa, whether it be the DREAM Act in the United States, it's the multiple ripples, and you are part of those ripples. Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. If you think you're too small to have an impact, Anita Roddick said, try to go to bed with a mosquito. Dolores Huerta, walk the street with us into history, get off the sidewalk. That's the call to action. And the last one, si se puede. I know the Anglos often say it means yes we can, but as you know, what it really means is yes it is possible. It's a much more hopeful message. It's possible. To bring that to clear focus, last movie clip that punctuates everything I've said today, I want to go back to one of my favorite movies. This is a movie directed by Denzel Washington. He actually stars in it. It's a movie inspired by true events that happened back in the 1920s and 30s in the United States. Wiley College, Texas, historically black college, debate team. The movie's called The Great Debaters. They're trying to debate white schools, and they finally get an opportunity. University of Oklahoma. This scene, I want you to listen to it, but in particular the last speech by Samantha Book that'll close out me. Again, the title of the movie is called The Great Debaters.
Resolve. Negroes should be admitted. I can't hear you. Resolved. Negroes should be admitted to state universities. My partner and I will prove that blocking a Negro's admission to a state university is not only wrong, it is absurd. The Negro people are not just a color in the American fabric. They are the thread that holds it all together. Consider the legal and historical record. May 13, 1865, Sergeant Crocker, a Negro, is the last soldier to die in the Civil War. 1918, the first U.S. soldiers decorated for bravery in France are Negroes, Henry Johnson and Needham Roberts. 1920, the New York Times announces that the end in Negro would hereafter be capitalized.
Force upon the South what they are not ready for would result in nothing but more racial hatred. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, he's perhaps the most eminent Negro scholar in America. He comments, "It's a silly waste of money, time, and temper to try and compel a powerful majority to do what they are determined not to do."
My opponent so conveniently chose to ignore the fact that W.E.B. Du Bois is the first Negro to receive a PhD from a white college called Harvard.
Dr. Du Bois, he adds, it is impossible for a Negro to receive a proper education at a white college.
The most eminent Negro scholar in America is the product of an Ivy League education. You see, Du Bois knows all too well the white man's resistance to change. But that's no reason to keep a black man out of any college. If someone didn't force upon the South something it wasn't ready for, I'd still be in chains and Miss Book here be running for Moa Massa.
I do admit it. It is true. Far too many whites are afflicted with the disease of racial hatred. And because of racism, it would be impossible for a Negro to be happy at a Southern white college today. And if someone is unhappy, it is impossible to see how they could receive a proper education. Yes, a time will come when Negroes and whites will walk on the same campus and we will share the same classrooms. But sadly, that day is not today.
As long as schools are segregated, Negroes will receive an education that is both separate and unequal. By Oklahoma's own reckoning, the state is currently spending 5 times more for the education of a white child than it is spending to educate a colored child. That means better textbooks for that child than for that child. Oh, I say that's a shame, but my opponent says today is not the day for whites and coloreds to go to the same college, to share the same campus, to walk in the same classroom. Well, would you kindly tell me, when is that day gonna come? Is it gonna come tomorrow? Is it gonna come next week? In 100 years? Never? No, the time for justice, the time for freedom, and the time for equality is always right now.
From the movie The Great Debaters, let me leave you with this. Continue to live the lives of leadership that you are living. Continue to be people of consequence. Your greatness lies ahead of you and within you. May the force be with you.